Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Forensic Fix, a podcast brought to you from MSAB, where we talk with experts in digital forensics, investigations and related fields. I'm your host, Adam Furman, and today I'm very pleased to welcome Steve Bunting to the show. Steve has a long and a distinguished career that spans over 3 decades of law enforcement and more than 25 years specialising in digital forensics. He is now the founder and principal examiner at Bunting Digital Forensics LLC, where he works as an independent consultant, expert witness, and a senior instructor. His work has included mobile devices, cloud, legacy storage media, and courtroom testimony, bringing real-world depth and clarity to complex digital investigations. Now, Steve, firstly, welcome to the show. I've given our listeners a very small insight into your journey and your achievements for your career. For those people of the show who may not be as familiar with your background, could you share some more about your career path and what inspired you to focus so intently on digital forensics and expert testimony?
Well, one day I had to do an internal affairs investigation.
That's a good way to start.
Well, yeah. And I knew nothing about digital forensics at the time. I had a lot of interest in computers, and it was back when the days of Netscape Navigator. And I saw this file in there called history. And wow, I said, this looks like just what it says, and started going through it because it was all about misuse of computer resources.
Yeah.
And cops checking on porn. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went through it and I found all these timestamps, and they were back the old Unix timestamps. What are these things? So I had to figure all this out myself. And I was just talking to the chief after it was over, and I said, it's got to be a better way. And he said hey, look at this. He talked about this course called BDRA, Basic Data Recovery Course from, National White Collar Crime. I said, give that a try. So I went to it, and Keith Lockhart and Ben were there, and it's a room full, and I just enjoyed it. Went to ADRA and couldn't get enough of it. So it kind of started me down that path. And from there, I went with NCASE, and they asked me to teach for them. So I started teaching there, and then next thing you know, wanted me to write a few books. And so I wrote those books for guidance, and there were 3 editions. And I was used to be in martial arts years ago, and my sensei said, if you really, really want to know something in life, teach others.
Yeah.
And so and I found it also write about it too, because you've really got to dig deep, you've got to research, and you've got to be accurate. So it's kind of cast my path down the forensic trail, if you will.
That's impressive, and it's probably surprising to a lot of people who are sort of 5 years in this industry that a lot of people were just thrust the computer and said, hey, you're the computer guy, work this out. That's how a lot of forensic labs started.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody who knew more about computers than anybody else, and suddenly everything was thrown in your lap. And it grew, and you had to, back in those days, you were still trying to figure out the internet was something that was going to be viable.
Yeah.
And we worked with the DOS boot disks, and it was interesting times. I remember finding emails that are full HTML text cached away. It's beautiful. But the change in security has really been overwhelming.
Yeah. And the constant change in this industry as well, isn't it? It never stands still.
No. And anytime anybody asks me, I always say, well, this is the way we did it yesterday. I can't guarantee it's going to work that way today. It's just...
Exactly. Yeah. And in your current role, Steve, so as I'm currently talking to you, people can obviously hear from your accent, they're going to be expecting you to be sat in the US, but you're currently not. So what does a typical day look like for you now, running Bunting Digital Forensics?
Well, at the moment I'm in Albania. Started here doing mentoring work for the State Department on a 5-year contract. And for the past year, I've been doing other things. We spun up a lab here, and we bring some people in. We let them work here. Our plan is to try to work with a local college and university here so that we can basically bring some interns in here.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, where do you go to get training in a country like this? I mean, they get manufacturers training once in a while, but it's usually sponsored.
Yeah.
They have minimal resources. So this is a way we're working here to try to bring some people in. So anyway, that's what we're doing here. And my day here, I'm doing everything from DVRs to mobile devices, whatever they bring in the door.
Yeah. So giving them a real insight into the forensic world.
It is. Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's a communist country, or used to be rather, and it takes a while for things were done a certain way. And most of the Balkans countries are this way. It just takes a while to bring about change. And so there's a lot of rigidity in the administrations here. They're not open to change, and the resources are very slim. So
yeah,
trying to do what we can to help some people,
and that's what this industry is about. Spreading knowledge. And
it is. I'm 73 years old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, but as long as the mind's sharp and everything's still working, my concern now is the new generation.
Yeah, and the reliance on push button.
I mean, that's the easy way. I mean, it's an artifact-based world, but that's easy, and people want the things that are under those push buttons, the location, they want the pictures, they want the messages. And, as long as you can get into the device, that's pretty simple stuff. But sometimes the facts of the case require a much deeper dive.
Yeah. And in your long career and your experience, having worked both in law enforcement and now as an independent consultant, over those years, Steve, what major shifts have you seen in our forensic landscape?
Oh my God. Well, security is one. I mean, it had to be, and sometimes I think Apple hates cops.
Yeah.
But I understand where they're coming from. I mean, they're dealing with the evolution of smartphones. I mean, there used to be that they sent messages and made calls.
Yeah.
And now your entire life is on a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Your payment system, everything about you is there. I mean, your medical, your biometrics, it's all stored in that device. So there needs to be security on that.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think we would want to have it any other way. But it's getting harder and harder to get into them,
you raise a good point, because you and I back in the day and I think Brett Shavers has written many articles about this, is putting the suspect behind the keyboard. That was always the challenge with a computer, because a computer is a shared, predominantly it can be a shared device.
Yeah.
And I saw many of the sort of excuses of, it wasn't me, we had a Russia sailor stay with us for the night. And it was extremely hard to work a case and look for artifacts that would support the context of your suspect sat in that chair. And like you've rightly said, phones are everybody's lives. They're kept in people's pockets. So there's no wonder that the privacy and security needed heightening.
Yeah, but of course, once you get into the phone, it's hard for them to say it wasn't me, because the biometrics are required to get into the phone pretty much make it you.
Yeah.
So on the plus side there.
Yeah. And you spoke in your introduction about some of the books that you've authored. So you've authored Encase Computer Forensics, the official NCE study guide. And for those of you out there who haven't worked with guidance software, the NCE was sort of the stable, almost like the renowned sort of industry certification, wasn't it, for being accepted as an expert testimony?
Yep.
What motivated you at the time to sort of get involved with that? And do you see that those books are still relevant today?
I mean, the title suggests it was written for certification.
Yeah.
But they basically when we set about how we were going to cover it, what we were going to do it, the publisher wanted it to be broader. Naturally, it's also more books, so they wanted it to be not only the certification but also a general course in digital forensics. So they wanted me to go way outside that. Of course, the NC certification isn't really software oriented. It is to some degree, but it's also very general practice too. So it's wide in scope anyway, and so we wanted it to be also a book on how to use NCASE. Now, at the time, the training division was kind of bristled over that because it cut into training, but it really supplemented it. So it basically was a how to use NCASE certification, like a general forensics book as well. So people called it the Bible after a while. But so it was a fun project. And probably the last one, is it still relevant? I mean, the last one took NCASE 7 at the time. When they went from 6 to 7, that was a huge change in everyone's life.
I upset a lot of people in my old forensic lab.
It did. And I don't know personally if I were not writing the books, whether I would have been one of those or not. But anyway, the benefits were there once you worked through it all. And got to use the interface, and it had to go that way because it was all about big data. I mean, you couldn't do things the way you were, so they had to make some major changes. So that book really covers NCASE today might be up at 20 some, but it's really the same user interface that they switched over to with 7. So it still has some relevance.
But people don't like change, do they?
No,
people don't like when interfaces change or methods change.
If you don't like change, you're the wrong business.
Yeah, definitely. And recently you authored an article, and we chatted before we came on air about the importance of this. And the article's titled "The Art of Hunting for Nothing." And I recently promoted it at Techno Security West because I was doing a talk around how you have to go beyond the artifacts presented by your forensic tool, because sometimes there may be data sitting within a device that can help assist your case. And this article that you published proved exactly that. You describe how the absence of evidence actually spoke words for itself. The long quiet periods on a mobile device can be just as telling as traditional artifacts. And could you walk us through, Steve, how you discovered that approach and why it's important for forensic examiners to think outside the box? And I sort of I spoke to you about my example, which is where devices were being submitted for fatal road traffic collisions. And always the onus was, I want to prove that person was sending a text message. And I almost had to re-educate people that there could be other valuable evidence on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this case that we're talking about here was a homicide case. And the fellow's name was Keith Gibson. He was out of Philadelphia. And he had served a previous sentence for homicide and served 10 years and had just gotten out about a year prior. So in a way, he had not grown up with social media, so to speak. He didn't have it in prison. And so for 10 years, he was, not dependent on it. So he could get by a couple hours without having his Facebook or Instagram. But of course, he had other things he did. He was basically a street guy, and he wasn't going to go back to jail. That was his plan. So anyway, they brought me into the case, and it was they were trying to find out the location information. Was he at the scene of these crimes? Because there were several murders. And they kept asking for location data. And then finally they found here's where the robbery occurred on this day, but we had given you a narrow time frame. We've now found that his car was found in Philadelphia after he committed the crime in Wilmington. And so could you expand on that time frame? Again, looking for location data. And that's when I started really looking at it, because what happens, we were able to, backing up a little bit, it was kind of like, okay, maybe we're not finding the location data because there isn't any there. Why isn't there? Location services was on. So then you start looking at other possibilities. Well, maybe the guy turned the phone off.
Yeah.
And so we had the day they were looking for was out beyond 30 days. And most of your good logs on iOS have a time to live, TTL.
Yeah.
And 30 days is pretty much it for most of those logs. Some are, of course, hours. So
Yeah.
some going to survive the next recharge when the phone cleans up at night. I mean, there's various time to live settings for all kinds of logs. So anyway, started looking at known times that he committed crimes. And sure enough, once we started looking at other logs, we looked at the GUI. When you press an iPhone to bring up the GUI to turn it off, I mean, that brings up, it's called SB Power Down.
Yeah. Springboard power
But
down.
anyway, so suddenly we started realizing that he was turning the phone off. And all those incidents of where he's turning the phone off aligned with times that we had for known crimes. But this one that was really concerned about was outside that range.
Yeah.
And it just so happened I started looking through the FS events. And for those who don't know what they are, they're I guess it's really for developers. They keep a track of most anything that happens to a file or folder on a system. And they put several thousand of these inside an archive, and they're a sequence of what happens to the file system, hence FS events. And the archive itself has a timestamp. It's about a created date and a last modified. They're always the same. I've never seen them not be. And the events inside there, I think there's several thousand. And what happens, they each have a GUID. It's a 64-bit number, so it's unique. So you can sequence them. So there's a perfect way of tracking everything that happens to the file system since for whatever you had time period for. So in this particular case, we had basically a birth to death. For whatever reason, they had not been purged. So back to the very beginning when that phone was put in service, we had these right up until the time he was arrested. So anyway, started looking for that particular day. Now, when you start looking through these, I mean, you're looking through millions of records.
Yeah. So it's hard to see through the noise.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you sit there and go blind. So it took me several hours just to find where that gap was in that period. And suddenly I looked at it and said, wow, just about 10, 15 minutes prior to the homicide, he turned off the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, shortly after, about 8:30 that night, this happened around 4:30. 3 hours later, he stole the victim's car and ditched it up in the Kensington area in Philadelphia. And sure enough, that's when his phone came back on. So now you see the gaps. Now I said to myself, there's got to be more here. But to do this in any kind of meaningful way is, again, you're looking at millions of records and looking for gaps is very difficult. So it came down to, I said to myself, time was short at the time. I didn't have time to develop any other tool to do it. So eventually built a Python script that went out and looked for gaps. Yeah. And so it allows you to paint a picture, if you will, of times when people turn the phone off. And it's variable. You can set the time for the gaps. I mean, if somebody's going to turn off a phone and commit a crime, it's not going to be 5 minutes. It's usually going to be, a much longer period of time because they do it before they get in the area. You got to figure it's going to probably include the travel time because they don't want that on there. It's going to be whatever the time they commit the crime. Then they want to get somewhere a long way away where they turn it back on. So you're looking for significant gaps. So this script allows you to adjust the gap, see what kind of differential you want between them. And it paints graphs, gives you a really good picture of what's going on. So you can align those on a timeline with known crimes. So again, you're not looking for location. You're looking for the absence of the phone's activity. If you think about it, look at other ways you could. Of course, what was interesting too, they never told me that this guy had engaged in such extreme anti-forensics measures. They just said, find the location. If I had known what this guy was like, he was actually, he was he's wearing gloves, a new pair of gloves for each crime. He was using a revolver, so no shell casings. He was using frangible ammunition. Every time he robbed somebody, he'd shoot him right in the head. the
Yeah.
ballistics. He was wearing a hood, a mask, changing his clothes. I mean, he was anti-forensics all the way. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't he turn his phone off? So, he didn't want to get caught.
And we'll link out to the article, and you've included your scripts there as well, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yeah. So
And
the easiest way to do it is, of course, if you unpack the archives, you're going to get millions of records. So to process it more efficiently, if you just take the archives themselves, and you can export out, basically all you need is a name and the path of it and a date.
yeah,
And if you just do that with the archives, then you can find the gaps. But otherwise, you're looking for millions of records that have whatever. What the events do is they inherit the date from the archive that contains them. So as they're created, what it does, everything happened. The timestamp will be created. Everything will be happened since the previous timestamp. So you've got all these that have the same several thousand records that have the same timestamp. So rather than look at those individuals, look at the containers themselves.
yeah.
And it runs a lot faster. But that's
And
not to say you
because
can't do it the other way. But
that's always the way with most investigate. Like when you and I started, data was a lot smaller,
oh yeah,
and whereas now it's
staggering.
terabytes upon it's staggering, and
Yeah,
you can no longer go in and review everything. You have to have a strategy, and if you have your date and time, yes, there may still be thousands within each container, but at least you've been able to narrow that container down, because otherwise
yeah,
you're just not going to see the wood through the trees, are you?
yeah. Then you go blind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it with scripts.
And I wanted to ask, Steve, because I always got told that if you were going to examine a Mac, you needed a Mac. Do you find looking through FS events and that sort of, is it easier if you've got a Mac and you've got access to terminal and things, or is there ways that you can deal with it?
Well, if you take, I know I'm not here to talk about other products, but when you try to take an FS event log and unpack it in Windows, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to take something that was really intended to be, let's face it, done with a Mac. It's their proprietary technology. So you expect it to probably do better. But
Mm-hmm.
in this case, with these particular events, they're basically just files and taking the timestamps and looking for gaps. So you're
Yeah.
fine with that. Where it gets with unified logs is where it gets really crazy,
Mm-hmm.
because when you try to do that in Windows, you're having to you're making compromises. You don't get the
Mm-hmm.
full data.
Yeah.
So when it comes to unified logs, come over to a Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
they have native commands to handle it, and it's wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're not trying to discourage anybody here, and it's
Yeah.
always the case of whatever actions you carry out, as long as it's documented and recorded and repeatable, then
Yeah.
you can justify your actions, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. And you were talking about auto accidents earlier. We've been doing some testing, and it's hard to recreate an auto accident, because that,
Yes.
let me tell you, we tried. Actually, and it has to be a serious accident for it to trigger. But the same events that occur on the iPhone, basically, if you have a watch and you fall.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, I don't fall, but if you're in Albania, every time you go meet somebody here, you're going to give them a big hug.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm continually getting my watch going off. It wasn't enough I had a fall. No, I'm just in Albania and we're hugging each other. That's just the way
Yeah.
it's done. But if you forget it, or the moment it triggers and let it go through its cycle, it's going to talk to your phone, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
leave a lot of logs in the unified logs,
Yeah.
especially if you let it trigger. So the same set of events, the same triggers happen on the phone if it detects a crash on the phone.
Yeah.
So those logs are in the unified logs, and they're tremendous evidence there. But
Yeah.
what I'm seeing, it only lasts about 24 hours.
Yeah. Because
So,
of the amount of them.
yeah, they don't have a time to live that's any longer than that. So we don't see them much after 24 hours.
Yeah.
So if you're really looking anymore, it's almost the digital evidence is so voluminous they can't have it live very long.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have enough storage on your phone. So um, what I'm finding is you almost have to think about digital evidence the same way you do in a traffic accident for blood alcohol.
Yeah.
It almost has that volatility.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, and so trying to work with some of the attorneys that do the trucking accidents in the trucking industry and looking at a new protocol, because basically, if you get this phone immediately after a traffic crash, and I'm talking about doing this within 24 hours, if you trigger a system assist diagnose,
yeah, which you can do, can't you,
which you can
from
do,
the
you can do
handset?
with buttons.
Yeah,
It's tricky. Nothing out there is printed about it as right.
yeah,
I spent a lot of time figuring it out. I pretty much got it done, so I can do it at almost 100% of the time. But if you do that, that log is going to get written. So that gives you some time. You capture the data that's in the unified logs and kind of preserved it.
mm-hmm.
And then if you get to the phone, you can use AirDrop to get it, move it off. And that
Yeah,
is a huge, huge first step for getting
yeah.
traffic accident data.
And this is almost like for cops 101, isn't it? Who do traffic? It's almost like it's part of the procedure.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, you do all these things to get information. I mean, your fatal accident team should be doing this.
Yeah,
They got a phone. Now, an Android's a totally different animal in that regard. I mean, if you try to
mm-hmm.
do the same thing to get the same kind of data from there, good luck. But
Yeah,
an iPhone is really nice to do that.
yeah. And
And
the problem with Android is you've got so many different flavors and vendors,
oh
and
yeah,
Samsung can push out an S25, but it can still have 70 variants.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it makes it really difficult,
yeah, it does. It
especially
does.
the company I work for, to extract devices to say that they support an S25, but do they support variant
Oh,
A through to
it's all
Z?
over the
Yeah,
place. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So there's not much out there on the sysdiagnose, but they've got the unified logs in them. There's
yeah.
a couple of ways of doing it, but only one way, and that's doing it with the buttons to get the
Yeah.
full one, which is what
And
you're looking for.
you're obviously involved in the training side of things. We're very fortunate here at MSAB to have you as a contract trainer for us. And going back to your law enforcement days, do you see that digital forensics is now part of a cop's initial training, that they need to
Oh
have
my
that
God, they
insight?
have to. They have to.
Yeah,
Right now, I mean, with the recent changes in iOS, I mean, if they don't handle that phone right, it's sensitive to
yeah,
where you are now. I mean, you have
yeah,
a trusted zone around you, and the levels of security are
yeah.
horrible once you step outside that zone. If
Well,
you if you
to
put your
me,
face up there as I'm a cop, here's maybe I can put
yeah,
in. As soon as it sees your face, it says, I know
yeah,
you're not you're not the owner.
yeah. Well, cops and people who are involved in investigations are always told about preserving a scene. Don't
Mm-hmm.
trample over the scene. Preserve it for forensics, and that has been part and parcel of a cop's training from day one. So
Oh yeah,
we're exactly on the money, really, with digital forensics now.
yeah. I mean, it used to be don't touch the mouse, don't touch anything. Now you
Yeah,
have to. I mean, you've got a
yeah,
complete, but of course, how you do it is very important. I
yeah,
mean, if you're going to do something with the phone, you have to turn it on its side, not
yeah,
put your face in it.
yeah. Don't record yourself, and
well, yeah, but it sees your face, and right away it knows that you're not the owner. So
yeah, you've changed the
it changed
yeah,
you change the phone.
and you've obviously given expert testimony, and for those listeners who have done it as well, it requires translating, especially like going back to the case, The Art of Hunting for Nothing. It requires translating technical evidence into understandable courtroom language.
Yeah.
What are some of the pitfalls that you've seen practitioners face over the years, or any advice that you can give to people who maybe haven't given testimony yet?
I'll just try to take something technical and turning it into real world examples that people can relate to. I mean, I said that about the blood alcohol. It's it's the volatility of it. It doesn't last very long. Well, alcohol is going out of your system very quickly. So those are two examples.
Mm-hmm.
Try to explain FS event logs. Basically, I would say, hey, look, these little logs for the phone to be on,
Yeah.
these are going to be here, and you turn it off. There's going to be a gap. It's just the way it works. Don't try to get too technical and just say a gap in that log tells us the phone was off.
Yeah.
And try to not get too technical. You have to answer the questions, but the moment you go get technical and look at that jury, teach them. That's what I think. That's what I try to do. Just turn around, forget the attorney over there, and just turn around, look at the jury, and talk to them.
And you're correct, and you make the point of not being too technical. I've seen colleagues, and we had a review system in place where we used to review each other's reports before they'd go into the prosecution. And some people would want to highlight their expertise, and they perhaps would say, because this byte was in little endian and this value indicates this. And you may know that whilst you're sat in your lab with all your forensic casebooks, but when you're given evidence, you're under pressure and given testimony. If a defence then asks you and questions you about that, you may soon forget all of that level of training you've had, and then they've made your expertise. And that's why you make the good point of don't try and make it too technical. A jury is not going to understand little or big endian, for example.
No.
And just explain it. Yeah, explain it on and off is a way that people would understand.
Yeah, you gotta dumb it down.
Yeah.
You lose them quick.
And looking ahead to the future, we've already covered such a major change since the day when you were first thrust your first computer case. What emerging trends or anti-forensic techniques are concerning you the most that examiners are going to face?
I'm not sure where it's headed with Apple. It's only Apple can tell you. But I mean, look what they're doing. The features they're putting in now. They're moving to biometrics. I mean, I see that as a showstopper in some regards.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, if you want to get into an iPhone, you even have the passcode as long as you think that's good enough. But if they have the stolen device protection turned on, to turn that off to be able to dump the data, you have to have the face. So,
yeah.
I mean, we run into that with people who die, and the family knows the passcode, but the person's face is dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've taken my phone and made another person as an alternate face. So if something happened to me, at least somebody can get into
At least
phone.
it can be, yeah.
And that's come about in the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So I see biometrics is going to be the way into phones, and because it's very easy to sit behind somebody and get their passcode.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. I had a class there was a guy in one of my classes one time, and he had one of those unique occupations. You would hire him to go get in somebody's phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he would he would follow them around. And he was sitting in the classroom, and within, say, 20 minutes, half hour, he had everybody's passcode for their phone just sitting in the back row.
Yeah.
Because he just had that ability to map it out, the patterns, anything you needed. So those kind of people are out there.
Yeah.
And then the next course thing you do is you steal the phone.
Yeah.
And that's how they get in. So, I mean, biometrics are going to be there. What that's going to be a real big showstopper. I mean, we're used to having passcodes override that, but in some cases, not now. And again, it depends on where you are with the phone. It's very sensitive to whose face is looking at it and where it is, and it's smart security.
Yeah,
it's a smartphone.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and
so that's one thing. Yeah, and of course, encryption and the sheer volume of it.
Yeah. And does it concern, like we've touched on it briefly about the reliance on push button forensics?
Oh yeah, I mean, the sheer volume of data forces you to go that way. I mean, I can't imagine myself now starting new because there's so much to throw at you. I mean, it's a very complicated field now. When I started, it was pretty simple. I mean, it wasn't simple, but it was much easier than today. And it's hard to imagine not. And of course, the pressure on the labs, the backlog.
Yeah,
they don't have time to dig deep.
Yeah,
that's a problem too. And so, the only way you're going to do it is research. And who's got the time in a modern lab to do that? I'm fortunate because I've always taken the extra time to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. I want to figure things out, and I test. And I almost wish they had a course for doing research. People could get taken out of their routine and given a research project and really dig in. I mean, I think it'd be a fun course.
It definitely makes you a better examiner. I was very fortunate in my lab. We had the time to research and validate and sort of test findings, but that isn't the case for the majority of labs.
No.
I remember, and you've probably found the same, that you attend conferences, you network, you speak with people, and they'll tell you about a case they worked where they found this artifact in this database or something else, for example, and you go back and you think to yourself, I worked a case 6 months ago. That would have been an absolute goldmine for that case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But you can't beat yourself up around that. You only know what you know at the time.
Yeah.
Because this industry is constantly changing.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, there's nuggets out there we haven't found yet.
Yeah.
And of course, it's hard to share.
Yeah, it is. And
a secret not shared is soon forgotten. So, got to have mechanisms to share information, and you don't want to covet it because, hey, other people need to do the job. And
there's some really good blogs out there that detail some of this research. There's some amazing open source projects that are being worked on, like the LEAP series that Alexis Brignoni started, and now the whole community's taken over. And it really is a case of if you've turned over that stone and worked out the pattern, share it with everybody.
Sure.
Yeah. And
of course, the downside of that is Apple sitting here watching.
That is the issue.
You start sharing the information you're finding, and then they're going to shut it down.
Yeah. And so that is the real hard balance, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. Some things you want to keep to yourself just because of that. Not that you don't want to share it. You don't want Apple to know about it because they'll shut it down. Yeah. Make it more difficult.
Mm-hmm. And we've covered the reasons why the manufacturers have to do that, but
sure.
Sometimes you do wish that you'd have an investigator key that just unlocks it for you.
Yeah, just for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sitting there based in Albania at the moment, global training to independent consultant. How important is the cross-jurisdictional sort of and collaborative approach in forensic work? How important do you see that? Because we both come from a Five Eyes nation where data is shared freely. Yeah. It has to be, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It's hard to do it. We start looking at this like the Balkans. You have all the different languages here. I mean, you travel in the States, at least you got English everywhere. Or here you cross a country the size of New Jersey, you're into a different country, a different culture, a different language. So it's that alone is difficult. And like here, the lab doesn't even have the internet.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken it away.
Yeah,
they got hacked. The government did, and so anyway, they're functioning without it for the most part. They purchase it themselves, and they'll chip in and have one little wireless router with with a data source on it, and they use it for their stuff. But so it's difficult for them to engage, and they don't have the time.
Yeah.
And you take a lot of the labs where air conditioning doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking some pretty hot labs, and it wears you down. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of different labs in a lot of different countries, and, we're very fortunate to have some of the labs we have, but not everybody has that advantage.
And we spoke about those boundaries, and we sort of covered that you cover mobile devices, cloud, legacy devices. I want to talk about cloud because cloud is really hard.
It is.
Because it depends what MSAB makes products and we add features in that if you're sat in the US, you're going to find far easier to gain access to a warrant return, for example,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
for Google. Whereas it's extremely difficult if you're based in a European country to then go and serve papers onto Google.
Yeah, it is. It used to be difficult, and there's a lot of misinformation about that. In this country here, for instance, the embassy wants people to do it,
Yeah.
and they can see nobody's done that here in 3 years. That's sad, and they've automated the process, so it's a lot better now. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
have the struggle that they used to have, but the information has to get to the right people, and they think it can't be done, so they don't bother to try. you know,
Yeah.
we just did one today, and we couldn't crack into the phone, but we at least got a BFU extraction out of it, so we know for the person's cloud identity, all the numbers they need. If they just took that to Apple with a search warrant, if they backed it up to the cloud, they could have it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to bother because they don't think they can get into it. So we have the information, the tools we have once we get those returns to work with them. Most of the manufacturers do. MSAB has it. But in these countries, they think they can't get it.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
And even the country where I'm from, the UK, if we had cloud tokens, and I've been out of law enforcement since 2019, so hopefully it's changed. But it was a lot of processes to go through.
Yeah.
The case would really have to justify it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And hopefully those processes are being made simpler, because even extraction of data is getting harder.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's better to have a search warrant, the paper, and get it back that way.
Definitely. Well, Steve, I just want to thank you for joining me today on this episode and sharing your experiences and your deep expertise. Your work has helped shape the field, elevated best practices, and I should imagine supported hundreds of complex investigations. And I'm sure our listeners will find your insights hugely valuable. And I'm going to link out to your articles, to your publications, and I'll also put a link out to your LinkedIn as well so people can connect with you. But thank you very much, Steve, for joining me for episode 25.
Help anybody to phone call away.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Wish you a great rest of the day.
Take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.